Hello there, welcome to another one of our hacking guides. This is the second part of our hacking special. In this one we will be hacking files on various games. And if you remember the tools that we downloaded a long time ago, these ones only work I think with Workbench 2, and Zaphod I think works with Workbench 3. We'll be checking that out. I've also installed Dexid version 2 as well. And so what are these? Well, these are hex editors, and these will edit the text or some kind of code within a file or an executable or a game. By going to the CLI we can type zap in, and that's my favourite one. That's the one that I use. It's a normal tool and I access that through the CLI. And you can see it's got various basic functions on offer, which we will go into a bit later on. But what I've done is I've put that tool into Directory Opus so that I can edit any file I choose. So let's go through the games and let's choose a file to edit first of all. So let's go through some of these. And ancient games, well, I started hacking Hannibal quite some time ago when I got the Hannibal game, and so you can see that's the main executable. By looking at the ANSI of that, that will print out everything that the game has within it in ANSI, which will print out anything in ASCII, of course, in English, and everything else it's going to print in code. And you're not going to be able to read any of that code, but if there is any English present in the document at all, you can see version Hannibal version 2 1993, so that's definitely, that doesn't appear within the game, that's just code hidden within the executable. But with Hannibal you can see various text files, and I think the game defaults to TextD, so I had to edit TextD, but I've also called it TextE as well. And this, you can see, it lists all the names of the cities, but also all of the English words, well, all of the words which appear in the game, and if there's anything that's mispronounced or anything like that, I had to go in and hack it. And what do you do? Well, what I did is I clicked on the D one and then I hacked it with this particular program called Zap. And that means that on the left we'll get the hex values of everything that's printed on the right, and everything on the right should be ANSI, and it should ignore all the code, it looks like, or at least most of it, so that we can just edit the text. And you can see some of the text even contains code. Sometimes that might be a return character or a space or some kind of character, so you have to be careful when you are changing these words about. And save game 5, save game 6, so you can change everything in the game, including the options menus and the feedback as well that the game gives us in text. So that's Hannibal. I had to hack that and change some of the German back to English. And so if you get Hannibal and you find that there's German in there, you're going to have to hack it. And that's what I did. And so let's have a look. Caesar, we can hack the saves if we want to do that. Empire, well, most of the text should be at least in the executable, and sometimes the hardest thing if you're hacking a game is to find the executable. So we've got cohort there, and CSR, that's the biggest file, so let's have a look at it. And so what I do usually is to have a look at that in this ANSI reader, and you can see most of that is in code. We can't do much, but well, I've just moved past something there, population, where it looks like it's been converted into various languages, you can see, within the game itself. And you can even change the French. So various things, I can't see anything else. And sometimes there are hidden things that you can find in there. So it is possible to change that text within that game, and then when you run it, that altered text will appear. So let's choose another game, and I'm trying to find an easy game that I can hack. I'm not having much luck at the moment. And Annals of Rome, I'm not even sure that even works. Save game to DFO, So you can change the prompts there, and leg, limb, Roman, garrison, orcs, has died, aged, proclaimed imperator by troops in. So you can see these are announcements within the game. You can then change them. And army, rebel army. So you can see various things listed out on that particular game. Nothing really jumps out at me as something that we particularly need to edit. So let's check out another one. And let's see now. Perhaps Dave the Pharaoh. That's a good game. Well, it's an average game that tries to be a really good game. So again, the hardest thing, those are sound files. So the Mac files, I think, look like pictures to me because there are a lot of them. So that's pictures and sound. Whereas the the executable. And let's just put it into the editor first of all. Let's see if we can see much going on. And it's a lot more difficult to read the English when you have to go through it page by page. And in this case, P7 DFO, okay, so it's hardwired to check DFO for certain files, and so you can change those to DHO or wherever you want to put them, and you can see, yep, all of them are there, all the pictures that it's listed out, all the Mac files, PAL 1, 2, 3, Pyramid 10, 9, so those are hardwired into DFO, so user abort requested. So you can change the path names of some of the files that it requires, but the easiest thing to do is to just deselect DFO and rename that as a different path. And it's definitely possible to dismount DFO and mount it up as any path that you like. So those are elements in the game. So let's see if we can find something else that is possible to edit. Archon, no, it comes on a disk. We can't edit that. All we can do is to edit Workbench files that are Workbench compatible. So again, WHD loads that come on a disk, it's not really what we want at the moment. We want install files that have installed into the hard drive. So let's have a look. Castles. And so this is looking good. That's the executable. Those are the background. Is that a message? Let's have a look. It's not telling me anything. Level, final. Well, let's just have a look at the executable first of all. It's calling on the DOS library, and just moved it down a bit too fast there to see what's going on. But you can see tons of text in the game. Insert data disk, insert messenger disk, and speed now ready, save, do you want to quit castles, yes or no? Alright then, good. So now we can edit it. Well, it's not going to really do much. We need to hex edit it. And now we can do a search. Let's search for quit, because that's what we've just found. Are you sure you wish to quit? So if we change that now to exit, if you look on the left, you'll notice that the hex values change as we're changing the ASCII. So let's just type it in, and you'll notice that the hex values there on the left stay. Well, you can edit those individually, or you can simply edit the ASCII side or the ANSI side, whatever it is, and you can see by changing those it will automatically change the hex values for us, because on the left that's what the computer reads, and on the right that's what we see. So if we want to change, let's change wish to want. If we want to exit castles, are you sure you want? Well, we have to leave the two dots alone, or any dots or any spaces, but we can't change any of the characters. So if we want to change the exit to game, let's put it in backwards, A, and then G, and then, well, a space. And in this editor, well, let's change that to da game. Alright then, so in this, you can see it's uppercase G. If I change that to a lowercase g, it changes the hex value, because the two different keys registers things on the keyboard, and so that changes them. If we then save it up, then that will save it up on top of the executable. So it's paramount, if you're messing around, to make a backup of the executable before you start playing around with it. Otherwise, sometimes these games simply won't load and they go to a black screen. That's definitely happened to me before on too many occasions when I've been trying to hack games. So always have a backup of the main executable. So here we are in castles, and you can see, well, we'll need to get to the point where we need to change something so we can see, are you sure you want to exit the game? And so that means everything in the game can be changed and hacked. So if we have a backup, hopefully, of the original, that should mean that if we hack something and we get it wrong, that just means that we can come back to the original and change it around for it if anything goes wrong. And having various backups, definitely if you're trying to hack the game and trying to change the language from English into another language, which is possible, then you'll need to keep various backups. So let's take a look at this one, Defender of the Crown. Let's look at the executable, and sometimes let's have a look, it's looking for all these different libraries, and sometimes you can see things that aren't meant to be seen by other people, error messages and breakout codes and things that are just hidden around in the text. Definitely check out The Secret of Monkey Island if you want error messages and messages people weren't about to see. So out of memory, darn, you'll never see that in the game. No signals, incomplete system, bad read timer, couldn't couldn't make the scene. Street is owned. What sheet is owned can't be freed. Okay then. Well, these are the error messages in Defender of the Crown, whatever this means, and you can see your army. So those appear in the game as text. Defender of the Crown 2. So Defender 2 has been assigned as DC Siege. And so this was meant to be a 2-disc game, Ferocious Stand and Fight. And so you can see knights and catapults, and I'm looking for something easy. Jousting, your income is, your treasure is. I'm just looking for something easy to hack and edit for the sake of this video. So let's wander through these, and the tournament begins. Alright, okay, so the tournament begins. It's in the executable, which is called Defender. Alright, Defender. So we could zap it, but let's use the other one that we showed you earlier on in the tools for now, because then we get to see more than one hex editor in this video. So you can see screens move there. Tools, here it is. So let's try that. Zap HOD or Zap HOD or whatever it is, and you can see it's a much improved layout, and we can open up a file from here. So let's open up, what do we need? We need Defender of the Crown. So it's a strategy game, and that's a castle battle game. So let's click on that, and it's the data, because it's the original data that we need to edit. We don't need to edit anything else, and it's the original executable. So now that we're in there, we need to find, what do we need to find? Did it say let the quest begin or something like that? So you can change the search direction and the type of replace mode as well, and you can look from various position. You can even replace that, whatever it is, on command. So you can change yes for ya and just do it straight from the editor if you want to do it that way. So replace mode next, behind cursor. Well, I'm trying to find tournaments at the minute, and I can't find how to search from the start. So let's search from the start. Let's find next tournament, How do we search again? Well, addresses. You can see various things there. Some of those are in German, so not much going on there as far as anything to help us, I'm afraid. So I think it's the search button, that's the one. So tournament, seek conquest, so go raiding party. So that's the bit in the game that we found, the tournament. So we can change your orders, all tournament, to whatever we like. Seek conquest. So let's just make a simple change. Let's change seek to reek. So let's put that in as a capital R, and it will highlight in this package the right hex code on the left, 52, that is, for capital R. And now that's all done, let's just save it up, and that will save on top of the executable. So again, save over a backup, it will then confirm it. Are you sure you want to save over the original game? Well, in this particular case, yes we are, because we're going to change it back again fairly soon. So what have we just edited now? A Defender of the Crown. Let's launch it up and let's see if that's made any difference. And now we can see further on into the game we have some income, some treasure, and those we noticed on the executable. We could have edited those names, but what do we want to do? We want to bring up the menu. So Horde Tournament Seek Conquest is now been changed to Reek Conquest. So we can Reek Conquest now, and any text in a game which shows up like that usually can be edited. So what do we need to do now? Well, let's change it back to Seek again, and then let's save that over the executable, and that will then save the code within the game to that, and it will load that up as code next time it loads it up. So now it's back to Seek again. That's good. So now you've got a good idea of how to edit things in games, or at least the text side of things, and how to edit at least files that we can access through the workbench. And we can't edit WHD ADFs unless you unpack those somehow, but we can actually edit blank disks, or at least disks. So if you have a disk in the drive, you can still edit with it. So what I found is a 16-bit software thing on the archive.org, and in here I found Dexid version 2, power menu thing, and the virus checker as well. So we can run the Dexid program. So that comes up now, Dexid version 2.5, and that's the screen, Christian Warren. So now we can edit files like we did before, or we can edit a hard drive or a disk drive. And this package will edit DOS disks, but also not DOS disks as well, and it will show the contents of whatever it is. So in this case it shows the block number and the track and the sector and the head as well that we're on at the moment. So it looks like we're on, well, the end of the disk, block number 880. So we can hold down the shift key and move the cursor up and down, and something border there, or we can just use the cursors to drag that around the screen. So we can then move to whatever block it is on the disk, and it shows us the contents of those blocks as they are on the disk. And most of those will be code, and we can't read any of it. Icon library, so if you had an alternative icon library that you wanted to use, you could hack that. Clean it yourself, Amiga Man Designs, Finland, by Gorgs, not enough memory, please switch your Amiga off, damn. So again, stuff that we were never meant to see. So these are looking at packages that we have on the disk, and in one of those packages it's got this jump type thing there which lists out something speed of bound file of your text. Well, if I change that to seed of bound, then you can see that this is on the place on the disk. It will also highlight not only our current position but our changes as well, and that is really great. It means that we can see what we've done, and again you can see these 20s are blank spaces, the 30 is the equals, and then it's 20 again. These triple O's, again dots. You don't really want to be touching any other symbol other than ASCII text. So all these weird symbols, you don't want to be touching any of them, otherwise the package, in this case the tool, isn't going to run. Even that dot there, AO, you can see that's not a 00, that's an AOA, so that means that it does something else. So we can edit usage. I'm not sure about that blank, I'm not sure about that blank either, because it's a 20 or that one. So from tool type onwards, and those characters, those blanks, you can actually edit them out until it gets to the 2 dots or the 3 dots at the end of every sentence. So that gives it a way that you can overwrite blank spaces as long as it's a continuous line of text. So we've changed that to seed of bound. Fantastic. So what do you need to do to write it? Well, just click on write, and it'll say, are you sure you want to corrupt the disk entirely by overwriting that disk sector of that new information? Yes, we want to do that. So now whatever package that is, wherever it is, whatever file that is on our disk, that means that's now overwritten. So now we can look at checks and values. We can switch on the autosave as well, which can come in handy. And let's see what else can we do. Compare devices, print out a block, recover a block, restore a boot block, and install a switcher on there. You can even recover a file, which is fantastic. And that means, well, if you find the file header of whatever file that you want, you can recover it. So in this case, if we find the file header of news.txt, that's just a load of blank spaces and news.txt there, that's the file header. So if you move up or you move down or something like that from that spot, that will list out the contents of that text file, although I'm not actually seeing any text at the moment, but apparently that was where the header was for that file on the disk. So this is, I think, running in NTSC mode at the moment. What else has it got in? The hex converter. So if you type in anything in ASCII, any 4 characters, that will show you what it looks like in hex. And it will also show you the decimal as well, which is quite a bit longer, and also obviously the binary, which is 0s and 1s. So help is that in binary. Good luck typing that out if you want help. So, and dots is 2e, and that's a different decimal number. You'd think that they'd match up with it being the same thing, but they don't. And it's also got a built-in colour chart, you can see with a colour wheel, so we don't have to hack the colours in this tool. It actually provides it for us. Wonderful. So I'm still wondering how to switch on the PAL and the NTSC. Aha, frequency. So in the package itself you can change that to PAL or NTSC, and when you exit the package you can change it back to whatever you want. So if you're playing a game, editing it in NTSC, or trying to get more on there or whatever, you can swap them over. So now it's running in PAL mode, we can now save our preferences, but for now, what have we done? Well, we've overwritten the file on the disk. What file is it? Where is it? Well, I happen to know where it is. Not a DOS disk. That's because the package takes over a disk completely, so that if it isn't a DOS disk, it will be able to read it. So even non-DOS disks can be read using that package. Let's just quit it. And now, hopefully, we can gain access to the disk from 17-bit software that I found in archive.org by looking for DexSid version 2. So I think that's the latest one. And you can see in the C directory, now that we're scavenging cover disks or whatever this is, public domain disks, you usually find some hidden things in C. Some nice good commands, and you can see, well, if I make that a bit bigger, you can see seed of bound has now changed. So we've actually changed the text inside of a tool on the disk using a hex editor by changing the block parameters of it and hardwiring it and hard writing it to the disk itself. Good. So we know that works. What does this do? Well, if we type it in, it will just take the workbench down and back up again, and then it will list on the screen, you type it, whatever you want it to type. So if we change that to default startup sequence, and we change the speed up to 1, that means it will move a lot quicker to print out the startup sequence, and that also lists out some of the secrets on the disk. Open look, I don't know what that is. Zoom windows, quiet. Not quite sure. Let's have a look. Quiet. And let's see what that does. And we've got a window there. If we close it, it puts a bit of a box around it. When we close it, and it zooms it out again. So let's try it with a few nested table windows. Zip. Okay, well, that's kind of reminds me of a Windows feature when they did have these things, zooming in and out, zip. That looks quite good actually. So that's another hacking tool that you could put in your startup sequence so that your PC, your computer, your Amiga actually does that when it boots up. And that makes the whole workbench look a bit fancier. It changes the colour palette, WBD3, that changes the colour depth of it to a higher colour mode, I think. Go workbench goes to workbench. So whilst we're scavenging, once you're getting into the hacking mode, you start scavenging disks, and the first thing you look into is the C to see if there's any commands in there that you haven't got. So C, that's our commands list. It's quite large, as you can see. So zoom windows, we have got it. What about win size? There it is. So ours is bigger than theirs. They both do the same thing. They both maximise the window. And let's see, by reading it, we can now zip in and out of that and find out which is the latest version. Well, that's the thing there. Not much going on. But if we look at the big one, let's have a look at that. The big one, again, not much going on. But if we scroll down, we can actually find right at the bottom of it some text. And that says that we've got usage arguments in this particular package. And bad args, intuition, stack overflow. So, to my mind, the fact that it's got intuition variables in there and it's a bigger file size means it's a better version than this old version. So we can ignore the old version. But we can get typey, and we can get a few other things as well. Let's just zap that in. Let's just have a look at it. Typey should be, yep, there it is. Let's change that back to speed. And now we're hex editing that using our normal editor. Save it up. That means that's executable now from now on. So typey obviously works. Let's see if we can get the error message on first of all. And yep, there it is. It's now back to speed. So we can edit text within games. We can edit text that appears on the screen from commands. So that's a good one to have, but also if you are looking through disks, sometimes you might not have a clue what things do or what things are, and the only way you can find out is by hacking them. So what's this one? C2. If I double click on that, it's going to say it's something to do with the Epson XI CBM computers, printer, something like that. Epson printer. So we can only hack it to find out whatever it is. That's a Siesta font. So if we didn't have the Siesta font, we can add that to our fonts and hack that in there. Fast dir, well, I've no idea what that does. It seems to come up with a password before I can even look at that, which is pretty strange given the fact that that's just a normal file, but it's saying I need a password to access fast dir. Very strange. So, well, all the others are, I can read them with the ANSI reader, no problem. So it's just that particular file, hidden file on our machine. So what can we do? Well, we can zap it. Let's see what it is. PX20, so that could mean it's a power packer. Well, perhaps power packed kind of a file. It's not usually PX20, I'm not quite sure about that. That's an unusual file header. Let's see if we can find any text within it to see what it actually is. And is it going to give away anything? Fast dir, no, it's not looking like it is. let's see, password. It's not even finding the password prompt that it came up with. So PX20, not quite sure what that is, but if it's power packed, then none of this is readable anyway, unless we unpack it. So that's definitely a warning. If you find something with TP as a header and you're hacking it, that usually means you'll need to unpack it before you can read it. That's definitely a tip to remember. So I can't see anything else on this disk that we need to rescue from it. There's the loader, there's the power menu. So it looks like that we've managed to get everything that we can off of it, and we've got DexSid as well to add to our tools, which I've already done. So that's fantastic. We can now get on back to hacking the games. So let's see now. It doesn't have to be an adventure game, it can be any game whatsoever. And one of the better ones is Star Wars. So let's remember where I put it: arcade conversion and Star Wars. So in here there's the WHD load, and in the data we get an executable, and we also get some other things as well. So let's have a look at the executable first of all. Let's see if there's anything in there that we need. Any hidden error messages? Write error please, remove write protection and reinsert the disk again, and press any key when the light goes out. So let's have a look. Game paused, and that's the loading menu if it comes up with that, which I don't think it does on the WHD load. On the WHD load version. So we can't find much in there. So the text in the game must be somewhere else. Let's have a look. All these are sound files. Sound data, missile sound, sound data, the trumpet sound, star dat. Is that anything? No, it's just coming up with it's, if you look at on the other side, that's actually a pattern for the Death Star, I think it is, on the screen. So we can always find it. Let's find text, and this time let's find star for Star Wars. Let's see what package is smuse. That's a music file. Shall I read the file? No, that's probably going to be a file info thing from the music file, so I'm not too worried about that. Star Wars, yes, this is the one. So that's the executable that we looked at a minute ago. Input device, that's the mouse. Track device, that's the floppy disk drive. Star Wars, let's have a look. Let's try to find the next one. Bonus, select Death Star, fire laser at the Death Star. So I think that's the options menu. When we click the mouse, I think that comes up. Waves. So, well, we're not really getting too far with that. Let's search again for star. Trigger, star, wait for, pull the trigger, wait for info. So it looks like these are things that are appearing on the title menu. New Star Wars Amiga version by Jürgen Friedrich DeMark Limited. So that definitely appears on the title menu. That scrolls up the screen. What else have we got? This is looking more like it. Obi-Wan Kenobi is gone, but his presence. You can see that square there between his and presence. That means it's a hard, I think it's a hard return or a hard space. I think that's definitely a hard return actually. So between his and presence, you can't get rid of that in the file itself, otherwise the entire game won't work. So you're going to have to remember those hard returns, those hard enter keys, and the full stop is alright, the spaces in between are alright. So what can we change? Well, let's change Kenobi. That's an easy one because it's not anywhere near any hard returns. Where do you find that? In Star Wars. So let's just use our tried and trusted zap to find this one. Nice and easy. Kenobi. Here it is. Obi-Wan Kenobi is gone. So let's just change that to an A. And we can ignore, again, I'm not sure if it tells you, in fact it doesn't tell you any hard returns, but anyway, we've now saved that to the game. So let's load that up again, let's skip on, and after that scroll that we've just seen on the in the inside of the game itself, it then comes up Star Wars, which is pattern file which it prints out. and that's a different file entirely, and then it comes up Obi-Wan Kenobi with an A. So we've successfully entered that. Pull trigger to start, we can change that. Wave and score, we can change that. So that's how to hack the text in Star Wars, but certain games go even beyond that, and Star Wars is one of those examples. Let's just close everything down and let's rename it back to Ken. Let's save that up, and then that's now renamed back to it was originally. That's now repaired. I've repaired that executable. So let's have a look in this data drawer. All these are samples, and if we look at them, it's not going to show us much unless we play them.
Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million. Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million.
Great shot, kid. That was 1 in a million.
And that's the trumpet from the introduction music. And the laser sound and things like that. So if you change these files to something else, it will then play those files, or it will at least attempt to, as long as you get those pretty much right, or playing back at the right speed. Sometimes you might have to slow them down and speed them up or whatever, but you can change all the sound files and all the text files within Star Wars, and if you figure out the data files, that means you can change the patterns of the enemy ships, the Death Star and things like that. So you have to figure those out, and so Star Wars is definitely one to hack. So that's the end of this video. Thank you very much.